I'm very happy to be sharing with you one of my very favorite subjects to teach. I have taught intuitive ESP and many classes of developing your inner intuitive and psychic mind for many years. So with that said, let's look at the intuitive mind. So you get that feeling, you feel something's in the air, what's going on, that hunch, something's different, afloat, you're not sure what it is. Well, how does that translate? How are you going to figure it out? Decipher that feeling that you're getting in the physical body. Well, you're going to do it by going into your intuitive mind. In your intuitive mind, there's a great awareness and acceptance of the importance and values of plugging in, tapping into that intuitive mind in everyday life for decision making, for goal setting, for better relationships. Developing and using your intuition is a strong component of knowledge of what is right for you and what is not right for you. It's your inner wisdom that's there to guide you and inform you beyond what the rational mind cannot grasp yet at the time. The intuitive mind nudges you to make good life decisions if you are listening. Benefits for developing your intuition. Your intuitive mind can inspire and guide you to fulfill a long desired wish or goal. Now, maybe it's something that you have difficulties accomplishing. Perhaps it's something that you think that you just are never going to get that. It's kind of far out. It's pretty grandiose, like that. Well, let me tell you, after many years of working, not only as a psychic reader and medium, but also as a life coach, I have been amazed at my clients and what they have achieved when they really do begin to develop faith with their intuitive feelings and thoughts of how to accomplish a particular goal or wish, a vision they may have had. You know, maybe you've overanalyzed it. You've overthought about, oh, I can't do that because after all, who does that kind of thing? Not people like me, not my family, not my social standing. Well, that's not necessarily true, as we'll find out. Tapping into your intuition to solve problems can relieve mental scatteredness and ease doubts as you move forward with confidence in your decisions. So problem solving, you know, when you have that problem in life and you just can't seem to let go of the doubts and the stress that it causes when you have a problem, well, take 5. Thomas Edison, the inventor, he would say when he had a problem and he was blocked with ideas, he couldn't move forward, what he would do is that he would take a nap. He would sleep on it. He'd let additional insights come through his dreams, through his quiet time. Not a bad idea. And now, more and more, it is being said that naps are very healthy for you, and it relieves a lot of stress. Relationships, relationships. So we're continuously in relationships of some kind. We're in relationships with people. We're in relationships with animals. We're in relationships with the God of our heart. All of it. We're in relationship with ourselves. Relationships, professionally and personally, can be healthier and more progressive with clear and direct communication. Now, am I only speaking of physical communication? I am not. I am talking of the powers of your mind that begins this communication before it comes out of your physical mouth, before it comes out of your physical hand, writing or emailing or texting somebody. You can begin to make relationships better within your intuitive mind. And you do that, you're looking at a situation, the way you're looking at a person. Professionally, you have a client, and that client's difficult to work with. And you think to yourself, I don't know, that client's so difficult to work with. I just feel like I'm being bombarded by the questions. I just feel that no matter what I say, there's a barrier, a door that goes up. Well, intuitively, you begin to read that person so much more. You begin to say, what does that client really want? What do they want for themselves and their business? And then you go into your intuition and you look for that message. In a personal sense, you also will have a better relationship when you're able to take a read on the person that perhaps not necessarily having difficulties with, but perhaps it's the relationship's kind of at a standstill. It needs to grow. And you intuitively are able to come up with thoughts and ideas and vision of how to improve the relationship, how to progress it, how to move it forward. With your pets, your animals, you intuitively begin to understand what it is that they are asking from you. What do they need? Do they need a change in their diet? Do they need you to be more proactive with them? All of this actually intuitively can be learned. Your divine beings, what do I mean by that? Well, your divine beings, of course, is the God of your heart. However you look at it, Buddha, Jesus, Allah, Goddess, whatever your thoughts are, angels, spiritual guides, spiritual teachers. Absolutely wonderful dialogue with them. I'm going to tell you how much more you will improve your relationships in telepathic, intuitive conversations and how much you'll gain from it. But most importantly, intuitively connecting and tapping into yourself. Turn inward to assess your well-being physically, mentally, and emotionally to take right action for better health decisions. What does that mean? That means that you will, again, intuitively know what in your diet is feeding your energy, is feeding your body in an optimistic way that your organs, your muscles, your skeletal, everything feels like, yeah, this feels good to me. I remember long ago learning that when you are trying to decide about a piece of fruit or some vegetables, that you hold it in your hands and you take a moment to feel it. And if you hold it in your hands, there's an energy that begins to happen. Kind of quiet yourself, take a couple of breaths. You are standing in the store, people are looking at you. So you just hold it in your hands for that moment and decide to yourself, how does this feel to my body? The same thing I learned, it could be about a book. Should I read this book? And you hold it in your hand. And if you're doing ebooks, perhaps you just put your hand up toward the description, whatever's going on. Does this feel like it's right for me? It's a learned talent. It's a learned ability. All of these are learned abilities that you are going to learn today through my class, how to move forward with it. As you turn inward and you communicate more so with others and yourself, you will be less stressed and more peaceful. Thus, you'll be a healthier, happier individual. The combination of the intuitive mind and the rational mind can be a great asset to create and achieve a fulfilling life that expresses your unique talents, skills, and ability. Now, I have been a life coach. Not only in readings do I see the greatness of my clients' abilities and talents, and I've mentioned it, Sometimes the client's just not ready to hear me say that. They don't have the confidence, the faith, their rational mind, their logical mind of, I can't see myself doing that, or that would never happen. Oh my goodness, I have heard that often. That will never happen. I can't do that. And then, of course, later on, they come back for readings. I don't care if it's in a year or 2 or 3 or 4. They say, wow, you know what I'm really going forward with now? Remember you gave me that reading? Well, okay, I'm very happy. You turn inwards and you find that you're using your intuitive message, whether it be seeing it, hearing it, feeling it, knowing it, and you have to give it to your rational mind, the logical mind, the physical you, the conscious you, the mindful you that says, let me come up with a plan. One of the things in coaching that I would ask a person is, what is the value in this for you? And do you have a plan? Then we work out steps. That is the rational, logical mind. There has to be a combination between the two of them. So now we know that you will have an opportunity to manifest in your life using your unique skills, abilities, and talents to have the life that you know is for you in this particular lifetime. You will be tapping into that wisdom within, and then you will bring into your life the knowledge that it will take to manifest that. It's not like I'm making it up. I tried it out. I live it myself. All right. Your intuitive mind is talking. Do you feel it knocking? It begins with a hunch. Where does the intuition begin? Well, it begins with a hunch, a physical body reaction, a feeling, a network of neurotransmitters calling the enteric nervous system, alerting you something is afloat, something's different, something is going on that you can't quite pin or articulate, but you know it's happening. Your body is stirring with energy. I told you so, said your intuition. And here you have, trust your hunches. Hunches are usually based on facts filed away just below the conscious level. That is a quote by Dr. Joyce Edwards, who was a psychologist, writer, and advice columnist. So here you have this feeling. It's no accident that we use the term gut feeling, because scientists have proven that a gut feeling is interchangeable with the intuitive brain, what goes on in the brain, and with the body. And they say that your gut actually has a brain of its own. Now, it may not be a gut feeling for you. You may get the hairs on the back of your neck rise up. It can be, you just get that, butterflies going through you, or that, what they call the, willies, you shake. It can be very different. And I'm certainly not a scientist, so I'm not going to talk overly about what science is doing, but they are making progress. It started in 1888, two philosophers and mind doctors got together and said, yeah, there's something between when you're getting emotionally, whether it's anger or it's fear or it's love, physically there's a reaction to it, and it goes up to the brain. So the looking at this scientifically has been around for quite a while, but I'm not a scientist. I'm more of a parapsychologist. I am more of a metaphysician, but I'll just say very little. That's kind of what I've been saying. And then we're going to move on a little bit here. Dr. Judith Orloff, Assistant Clinical Professor of Psychiatry at UCLA and author of Guide to Intuitive Health and the Empath Survival Guide. She believes intuition operates through the brain's hippocampus, which is associated primarily with long-term memory storage. long-term memory storage. Okay, I'll put it in my brain that I have to drive on the right side of the street. I'll put it in my brain that here are my keys. I won't forget where they are. I'll put it in my brain that here's my grocery list. Even if I forget it, I'll be able to remember it in the memory of what goes. Long-term storage of memory, which also means that you are storing away messages from the outside world that are given to you about yourself and about life and about what you can expect, and messages that deal very much with what you've learned, how to use it, how to use a particular tool when making something. So here we have it. It's stored in the hippocampus of the brain. Orlov also mentions in her book that women's brains connecting the left and the right hemispheres of the brain improve their intuition and experience. And they improve that by having a thicker part of the brain that connects the left and right side. What it means is that women have a more substantial brain superhighway for clearer and faster abilities to access both sides of the brain, integrating emotions and gut feelings with the more logical left hemisphere for making quick decisions. It's that I bring it up, not that I'm opposed to any males that are very intuitive at all, because there certainly are. But what happens with males, with the man's brain? Well, he has kind of a thicker part, corpus callosum, and they compartmentalize their thoughts, their thinking much more. So they move back and forth from intuition to logic. It takes them longer, and they probably will then go more with the logical feeling. So just a little bit of science. Look it up. You'll be interested in the studies. There's more to our conscious being than we realize. It's from within we can connect with the source of knowledge that lies beyond the limits of our 5 physical senses. This is important for you to know. The Rosicrucian Order has it in their manuscript. You can look up Rosicrucian Order also if you would like to study some of their teachings. Intuition can speak to you in multiple ways in the forms of the clairs. The clairs, clair meaning clear. So that's the clairsentience, the clear intuitive senses. Now, this is how it works. So we know the intuition's there. We know it can work for you and better your life, and they understand the benefits. Now we really want to get down to how does it work for you? I do have an intuitive quiz. Students and clients have taken it and given me some feedback, and they seem to say, yeah, after the quiz and what I give, what I believe belongs in those categories, they are able to really identify with it. But let's translate your unique communication from body conscious, from your hunch, to the inner consciousness, the intuition. The physical sense are the eyes, seeing. The non-physical sense, the intuitive sense, it would be called clairvoyant, clear seeing. Ears, physically, I hear. Non-physical intuitive, clear audio, clear hearing. Feeling, touching, your skin, clairsentient. Also psychokinesis is involved with that too, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. It is also people that are clairsentient are empathic, empaths, and we hear that a lot now. Your nose and your smell. I have a hard time saying this word. Clairofactants or clairaliens. So, and it's kind of funny. I have a hard time saying it because I've not, since I was a child, a good sense of smell at all. I'm sure my allergies have something to do with it. But some people, boy, they can smell something and their memory, their hippocampus, their brain will go over to that part and say, oh, that's a memory. So that's not smelling it because you're near something that smells like that. That's because intuitively you're picking up a message that is not physically there. Mouth and taste, again, not physically present, not near you. The smell isn't near you. The sight of the food isn't near you, but it's clairgustance, clear taste that again, the gut, right? The gustance. And so you're looking and saying, I'm getting some sort of message. It can be, here's an example. Oh, I just feel like I'm tasting that wonderful taste that I had when I was in Italy. I love the food. And within a short period of time, someone comes to you and says, listen, I'm planning a trip to Italy. Would you like to go? And so your intuitive self already said, well, I'm looking and tasting the food intuitively. Let's go back and look at these senses, these non-physical intuitive senses. We'll start with clairsentient, and that is because many people are clairsentient, strong feelings. Again, we hear more and more people saying, empaths, I'm empathic, I feel. I'm going to tell you right now, that is one of the more difficult clairsentient that you're going to have to be able to really get a clear picture of what's going on with your intuitive mind. And why I say that is, think how difficult it can be to clearly express in a concise way your feelings, especially when you're a very feeling person, very strongly emotional, perhaps very creative artistically, which would be wonderful. That would be a wonderful outlet to begin to plug in to what did you pick up intuitively. I remember once I had a whole intuitive class, but all of the students were clairsentient. It was such a difficult class in the way of getting my students to be able to bring up this feeling and put words to it, to give me the word, what I would say when they feel it. Where do you feel it? How does it feel to you? Do you feel fearful? Do you feel at peace? Do you feel I'm in love? Do you feel angry? Give it a color. What does that color mean to you? What would be a word to describe that color? A word. Clairsentients, more often than not, feel from what is called the second chakra, right down there, a little bit by your navel, kind of getting in that gut feeling, right? Not the stomach, the gut feeling. I would say, think of a cord or a line or a ribbon running all the way up from that into the middle of your forehead, your sixth chakra. And there you get clearer. So clairsentient is a wonderful gift. You really have strong feelings. It's learning how to decipher it that is very important to you. Learning how to put a word to it, learning how to make it a message that you will be able to use in your decision making, in your goal attaining, in your relationships. The next one we'll talk about is clairaudio. This is another one that people have quite clearly. They can hear. It can be their own voice talking in their mind. It can be as though another voice is talking in their mind. Now, this is not unusual because all the time we experience a voice talking to us. It can't be our own voice, and we're going in the car and we're saying, I'm going to take this highway because I know the other one is really busy. So should I take it from this exit or should I wait a little bit? So we're always having these internal conversations going on. We also hear messages from our past. We can hear a message saying, you're such a playful person, but you really need to be more serious. Whoa, who said that? Where did that message come from? You would identify that voice. You would know that voice. Clairaudio is a wonderful place. And certainly in my readings, I would just sit back and get my clairaudio messages from my intuitive guides and spiritual teachers. And it'd be so easy. I would rattle on and tell the client. The client thought, oh, you're so wonderful. Well, I was getting messages given to me, spoken to me. Clear audio, making it sharp, listening. It doesn't have to be a voice. It can certainly be a sound. Say that you hear a train. You're not near a train in any way. As a matter of fact, you're in your bed, ready to go to sleep, and you hear this train as clearly as whatever. And you find in time that you're asked to come for a job interview, and you realize the best way to get to that location is to go down and take a train. So your intuitive mind is saying, guess what? You're going to be taking a train to something in life that is potentially a very good move for you. And you put the two together and you go, I'm meant to be on this train. I'm meant to go for this job interview. Let's get to clairvoyant. Well, now clairvoyant is the ability to mentally and psychically, intuitively see a face, person, colors, images, symbols. It's not unusual to think about because that's how our dreams are. More often than not, our dreams are clairvoyant. They are not necessarily clairaudio. Once in a while, you might get a spoken message, but usually not. It could be an active dream where you're following a particular path. Maybe you see someone walking down the road, or you see yourself traveling in a car, or like that. Well, that's one of the higher places of the intuitive person. The universal cosmic energy is made up of numbers and colors and images and flashes of people, or all of that I mentioned. It is very important. It is one of the clairsentience that you want to bring up and really take hold of it, really master it. I did mention psychokinesis, and so I'll go back to that for just a moment. Psychokinesis is something that people that feel spirit, that feel non-physical entities around them. It is also something that you could touch. Say, you had an object, like I have this object and it belongs to someone else, and I'm feeling it, and I don't know who it belongs to or what I'm doing with it, but I say to myself, there's a woman here. There's a lot of female energy in this object. Someone who's very quick-minded, somebody who makes fast decisions, who believes in themselves. So I go on and I do that description, then whoever I'm giving that description to says, oh my goodness, you're right. That's my sister, that's my friend. I wanted to know, did you contact that person? How do I contact that person? And I love teaching that. Oh, when I would teach those classes and people would bring their object, we had a great time. So that's psychokinesis. That's the ability to feel an object, but it's also feeling a space, a place. You can feel a person. You could put your hands on. That would be in hands-on healing, or just even when you meet somebody, you touch and right away you get a hit. Oh boy, I'm having fun now. So let's move on. Let's see. How to develop and enhance your intuition. When you reach the end of what you should know, you will be at the beginning of what you should sense. Okay, how do you do this? Well, observation. The first part of developing your mind to bring yourself out of your physical sensation, your hunches, to be more mindful, to really tap into your intuitive self, is to observe of what influences you. What and who influences you? How does it feel how they influence you? You become the observer. Now, this is very Buddhist, and it is observing, and that's how you begin. You could do such things like go by a shop window, just look at it, walk by it at a few steps or a block away, Think of everything you saw in that window in that flash. Now walk back and look. How were you doing? You run upstairs, you run downstairs. How many steps did you move through without counting them beforehand? And you can really empower your observation. And the observation that how I do it, even in my meditation, is here is June, the conscious, physical, living June. And behind her is the observing June. I have her looking at my physical self. What I learned is observe myself talking to another person, observe my reaction to them. And I've done that quite a few times, especially if it's a difficult conversation I'm having. And I'm observing my reaction to this person, to the situation, to the communication. Now, what else is there? There's contemplation. In order to verify the validity of the intuitive symbol, you are to contemplate on it. I had this experience. I observed myself, observing myself having this conversation with a person in a difficult situation. Well, afterwards you sit and you go, oh, well, what did I learn? What is going on here? You want to strengthen that, strengthen your mind. And you strengthen your mind by adding subtractions without using any paper. You strengthen your mind by many ways of what else can you do to strengthen your mind? You can recall certain conversations you had. If you maybe an email you had and go through it in your mind, and what do you pick up in it? When I was looking at the responses people did for my test, I contemplated on their answer. I contemplated on what they are, and then I gave them some of my own thoughts about it. So observe and contemplate what you have observed to verify the validity of the intuitive symbol. And that would mean what I picked up. What was my feeling? What was my image? What was my hearing, my sound? How did it feel in my body? How does it feel to me? Is there something that I would like to make different? Is there something I missed? Meditation. Oh, I know, before we get into meditation, let me tell you how many people tell me, I can't meditate. Well, I felt the same way. Sometimes I still feel the same way. I go on a day where, I meditate in the morning and sometimes later in the day, but I'm like, I can't do this. I got so much on I got to be places. I got to do. Well, meditation can be really easy. It can really begin with just your breath. Just taking some easy, simple breaths. Do that now. Easy, simple breaths. You don't have to go so deep. You only go as deep as you want. You don't have to make anything of it. Then breathing in and breathing out. And breathing in and breathing out. You don't have to hold it. And you say to yourself, now, when you breathe in, quiet. When you breathe out, peace. And you go forth like that. You can use a candle. You can use an image that you enjoy from nature. You can think of the ocean. You can think of being in a forest. But don't let your mind jump around. Keep it focused on one: meditation, transformation of the original realization into a more powerful symbol or model to explain and predict what you intuitively have experienced. I observed, I thought about it, I contemplated, I go into meditation, and I transform both of those into a more powerful symbol or message coming to you to explain why you're having this intuitive message, this intuitive feeling, and even predicting, like I use the sound of the train to predict that you are on the right path. Practical application. You got to test yourself. You have to experiment with your intuitive messages. After all, you're a physical person, a conscious physical being living on planet Earth. You're not up there saying, oh, I'm having all these intuitive thoughts. I just don't know how to bring them into my real world. Oh, I'm stuck in this job. I really don't like it. I'm in a bad relationship. I have no relationship. Well, you got to test it. If your intuitive message is showing you after meditation a path opening up for you, perhaps books are there, perhaps you're sitting in a library, well, then you say to yourself, time for me to go back to school. I've got to learn some more. Look at how that all comes together. And the more you do it and the more that you practice, the more it comes together. It's like anything else that you want to be master of. You must use it. You must practice it. You have to bring it into your daily life. Okay, now, what else can you do? Important. Relax. Take 5. Meditate. Be in nature. Oh, nature is an absolutely stunning way to connect to your intuitive mind. Just sitting there. If you cannot be in nature and you do not have a park, say you're in a city and there's not a lot around you and parks, well, you can go to the park. That would be okay. Maybe you don't want to go to the park. Buy some potted plants. Put them around you. Sit with them. Remember Thomas Edison. Remember he said, when I couldn't figure something out, it wasn't coming to me, I took a nap. Take a nap. Relax. Turn inward to your clear sense. That means if my clear sense is feeling, and I'm consciously looking and saying, I'm feeling this and I'm feeling that. Okay. I'm tuning into it. I'm taking that feeling. June said to give it a color. Where do I feel it? What color is it? What is the word to describe that color? If it is clear audio, take 5. What am I actually really hearing outside of my conscious mind saying things like, I got to make dinner. I've got to pick up the kids. What is my inner voice saying? Turn inward to your clear sense. Metaphysical tools are a great way. I use the tarot. Right now, I'm really into the fairy cards. I absolutely love them. Oh, they're so good and they're so helpful. And actually, they're really manifested. So metaphysical tool. It could be the rune stones. It could be the I Ching. Again, the tarot cards. They're great. You might want to think about that. Keep a journal. Keep a journal when you had an intuitive thought. What came from it? Did you write it down? Did you meditate? Did you contemplate? Have you observed all of that? What came of it? Were you pretty much right? Were you a little bit off? Were you under stress? What was going on? Keep a journal, especially a dream journal. And if you're keeping a dream journal by your bed, use a pencil, because when you're laying back, it's really hard with a pen. The ink goes down. So that. Test yourself, design games. Oh my gosh, in our class, we had so much fun. We had telepathic games. We had psychokinesis games. So be playful, relax, be playful, have a good time with it. Practice with like-minded others. Find somebody who's willing to, you can check in with. You can say, oh, I intuitively felt that your day was this. And the person may say, you're kind of right on. I was feeling a little stressed. Or you may say, oh, I intuitively felt, I had this image of you and you were down the beach. And they say, yeah, I played hooky. I didn't go to the beach, but I was sitting, I went by a lake. Be patient, have faith, be confident, follow your heart. Your heart is one of the most important superpower intuitive reaction to life. When it all seems like it all went wrong, take a deep breath, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and start all over again. Yes, it doesn't always work. Your intuition, what you believe is your intuition message, didn't pan out. I know this personally. I know this professionally. Back in the 80s, I saw myself on a stage talking to people, teaching, because that's what I wanted to do. I really wanted to share with people what had worked for me to make my life better, to heal the pains of my life. If you think I had a really great time in life, I'm like everybody else. I had my pains, I had my ups and downs. So when it goes wrong, your purest intuition are always right, but those tinged with your own thoughts and emotions, that's so important to know, may only be partially correct or even be or seen completely wrong at times. With practice, you can learn to assess your intuitive experience and identify when they are most likely to be clearly insightful. Well, let me tell you a lot of stuff, okay? Yeah, let's go. What's the difference between your wants and your desires and I want it? I'm sure my intuition told me I want it. Yeah, maybe not. It's hard to know exactly. And that is where the observation and contemplation and meditation in time begin to reveal more. Now, as a life coach, I've had people come to me and they want a particular goal. They want to do this. And as we go through the process, the path opens up and they find something really important to them. Not the goal they originally started, but their whole consciousness and their intuition comes into play. I remember going to coaching school and they say there was one particular, we were set up, we had meetings for extensive weekend meetings, Friday through Sunday. And they said, well, we have to talk about the intuitive mind. And I, being a reader and a medium, thinking, can I get away from that and get into the logical mind? Well, I found out how important it was as I coached people. So don't give up. You may be pushing the envelope with your own desires. Learn to go back to the table, go back to the process and find out. It doesn't work. Okay. Maybe you've kind of got lost on the path. Maybe you find yourself intuitively seeing where you're going and suddenly you go down and you're in the swamp, you're in quicksand and I'm stuck. June, I'm so stuck. What am I going to do here? Well, maybe you need to relax. Maybe you need to change gears for a while. You go in the forest and it's so deep and you're lost. But you start to move through the forest and you find a path of enlightenment. Your intuition will lead and guide you. Do you remember we said that in the beginning? Your intuition will lead and guide you. It doesn't mean by tomorrow. It doesn't mean by next month. It means it's leading and guiding you and along the path of enlightenment. Could take years, like mine did, about teaching at a greater resource than when I was teaching in my office in San Francisco at my metaphysical center. It was small, I could only take so many people. So don't lose faith. You will find where you want to go as you listen and you see and you use your intuition. Karmically in your life, perhaps what you believe you should have is not right here, right now, in this particular life. It doesn't mean that you cannot prepare yourself by going and starting that path. Even if you don't believe you have reached it to its fullest, you have opened that path. It is absolutely a stunning process. That's what it is, a process. Be patient. The timing, it may not be your time. I cannot tell you how many people I read for that would say, it didn't come true. They'd only had to come back and tell me, guess what? It happened. I mean, I will go off into the future 3 or 4 years. You have to do the work. You have to take the steps. Those steps may not seem to appear to be in your intuitive goal. They are. People that use spells, I've given very seldom have I shared some spells with anyone, but I've had people say to me, oh, that spell didn't work. Well, what happened? Well, it worked in reverse, or this other thing happened after that spell that was negative. Oh, was it negative? Or is it that you have to work on that in order to really achieve what you want? I want you to think about all of this. Just want you to think about all of this. And I want you to think about this in a way where you sit now calmly in your space and take those easy breaths and realize that you are a magnificent being. You're a spiritual being having a physical experience on planet Earth. You can close your eyes. You can look at this beautiful image here. And you can feel from the earth of who you are, why you came to planet Earth. What are you doing here? What is my mission? And you move up in that energy from the bottom of your spine. You begin to move up. Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? How do I fulfill my soul and my spirit to be all that I can, to show all of my unique skills and talents and abilities, and to share those, to serve others so they too can be fulfilled? Thank you. Thank you for being part of this process of teaching you what had meaning to me. Thank you very much. Om Shanti.